Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Good afternoon. And today we're meeting on the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe peoples of the Robinson-Huron Treaties area that were signed in September 1850. We honor the elders of both the past and the present, as well as future generations of Wasauksing, Shawniga, Métis, and the Wata Mohawks. We express gratitude for their long-term caring stewardship of the land we share today. I urge all of us to reflect on the importance of recognizing the Indigenous lands, treaties, and their peoples. As we think about what happened in the past, we need to focus on what changes we can make going forward to continue the reconciliation process. Our Memorandum of Understanding with the Wasauksing First Nation sets the stage for ongoing partnership, cooperation, and learning. We're committed to furthering our understanding of the generations of Indigenous peoples with whom we share the land today. So I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask for an approval of the agenda. We had an addendum which added some correspondence to item 7A. And with that change, can I have approval of the agenda? Thank you. And is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Nope. Okay. So I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular and closed session meetings of council held on December 1st, 2025 as circulated. Ken and Greg, all in favor? And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn the regular meeting to hold a public meeting for the following matters. Zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2025-0021-H for Wolf Eves, and consent application numbers B 2025-0025-C and B 2025-0026-C for Marshall. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Gail and Terry, all in favor? Thank you. Council will now hold public meetings for proposed consent and zoning bylaw amendment applications. In accordance with the Planning Act, Council will consider all matters placed before it prior to granting a consent or passing a zoning bylaw amendment. Anyone wishing to receive notice of a decision or notice of passing of a zoning bylaw amendment and who has not submitted such a request in writing should provide your full name and address to the clerk. No one other than the prescribed persons may appeal an application under the provisions of the Planning Act. If they do not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin prior to the decision of Council, then the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss the appeal. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2025-0021-H for Volk Eves is to add an exception to the existing limited service residential zone to permit 2 cottages, resulting in an additional lot coverage and gross floor area on the property for a temporary period of 3 years. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property, posting on the Township of Seguin's website, and by regular mail on December 8th, 2025. Notice was therefore considered right in accordance with requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
No correspondence has been received.
Is anyone present in person in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application? Okay, can you come to the microphone, push the little green button and introduce yourself, please, with an address.
Chris Busby, 969 Highway 141, Rosso, Ontario. I'm the agent for the applicant or the owner, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay. Brady? Do you have anything to add?
No, Your Worship, I have nothing additional to add. Thank you. I'm here for any questions if there may be any.
Does council have any questions for either Mr. Busby or Brady? Nope. Has anyone registered to speak this application via electronic participation?
No one has registered to speak to this application.
And I see no questions, so we move on. The purpose of the proposed consent application numbers B 2025-0025-C and B 2025-0026-C for Marshall is to grant rights of way over a portion of an existing private roadway to benefit two waterfront lots on Horseshoe Lake. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property on December 18th, 2025, posting on the Township of Seguin's website, and by regular mail on December 22nd, 2025. Notice was therefore considered and provided in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to these applications?
No correspondence has been received.
And is there anyone present in person in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to these applications? Could you please come to the podium, make sure that the little green light is on, and tell us who you are and your address, please?
Hello, I'm Marcus Horick. I'm the owner of 130B, and I'm here to answer any questions if there are any.
Has anyone registered to speak to these applications via electronic participation?
No one has registered to speak to these applications.
Does council have any questions? And we can have Lauren on screen too. She's the staff person on this. Does council have any questions for anyone? Nope. So we move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. I have a motion that the public meeting held for the following matters is hereby closed and the regular meeting is hereby reconvened. Zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2025-0021-H and consent application numbers B 2025-0025-C and B 2025-0026-C. Could I have a mover? Ken and Greg? All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-001, being a bylaw to amend the Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-010-002-14700, R 2025-0021-H for 8B Kenosha Road is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Ken and Ted. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent applications number B 2025-0025-C and B 2025-0026-C, subject to the conditions set out in the decisions. Could I have Gail and Ted? All in favor? Mario, thank you. Okay, yep. So we are moving on to the delegations, and I believe we have Angela here to present for the generations effect. Okay, do you have their presentation or do they have it? Okay, so Craig has your presentation. He's just pulling it up. And I believe you will have the clicker. No, it's coming. Sorry. It's low-tech technology. Yeah, it should be bright green. Thank you very much, Angela and Taryn. Is that your name?
Erin, yes.
You have the floor. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for having us here today to talk about the expanding Phragmites control and wetland enhancement in Seguin Township project. We're really excited to be able to provide an update on the work that we accomplished in partnership with Seguin Township staff for the 2025 field season. Second to go. There we go. All right, so my name is Angela Van Ryken. I'm an ecology advisor at Generations Effect.
I'm Theron Corning, a technician also at Generations Effect.
There you go. For those who may not know, Generations Effect is the consulting social enterprise division of Georgian Bay Minidoggamy Biosphere. So we specialize in consulting and technical services for ecology, climate, tourism, and collaboration. And we also aim to give back to the communities in which we work through the projects that we deliver on. So our presentation today will go over the two main areas that you see on the slide there. So we'll provide a project update, which includes a background on the project that actually started in 2024, as well as the goals and objectives. And then Theron will go over key tasks and results. And then we'll finish up by going over for recommendations for the 2026 management period and beyond. So this is just a recap from the initiation of the project. It started in 2024 when it was originally funded by the MECP Wetland Conservation Partner Program. And it started as a pilot project. But in that year, we did a lot of work. So we scouted 45 roads and trails, of which about half of them contain Phragmites. We completed treatment at 10 sites, and we removed a total of 3,555 kilograms of invasive biomass, which equated to 1.5 hectares of area removed and 29 hectares of wetlands restored in total. So this year, the project objectives and the overall goal didn't change too much, but we wanted to expand on and increase the impact that we had in the first year. So our overall goal was to build upon and expand Phragmites management and wetland restoration across 13 sites within the township. And to achieve that, our project objectives were to protect natural heritage and key ecosystem services of wetlands, restore species at risk habitat, and enhance biodiversity, mitigate ecological and economic impacts of that invasive plant, foster long-term community capacity through things like involving them in training and removal days, and then also supporting the Ontario Phragmites Action Program. So there's just a quick snapshot of one site at Humphrey Barn and Nature Trails. You can see a before picture with lots of invasive Phragmites in the ditch there, and then after where there's just kind of native cattails remaining and other native vegetation. So we did this project this year through 4 main key tasks, and Theron's going to go over those in the following slides.
The first task was to host a Phragmites training workshop. We had 35 Seguin staff attend, where they were provided training and live demonstrations of how to identify native versus invasive Phragmites, how to properly remove it with techniques like the cut to drown method in aquatic environments, as well as speeding in terrestrial environments. As well, we went through a step-by-step guide on how to report invasive species through citizen science platforms and reporting platforms such as iNaturalist and EdMaps. The next task, which is arguably the most important task, is on-the-ground management. So this was a collaborative effort between Seguin Township Public Works staff, park staff, water quality staff, Preston, Forrest, Tom, Debbie, as well as community volunteers and Generations Effect to scout and map 500,000 meters squared of the township for Phragmites. We completed cutting or manual removal at 19 sites, 13 of which were aquatic sites, 6 were terrestrial, and of that 19, 10 of those were treated in 2024. We also had an additional 1 site that was partially treated due to its size, density, and time constraints. But from that overall those sites in 2025, 4,300 kilograms of invasive Phragmites biomass was extracted from these areas enhancing 34.5 hectares of wetland. That's 800 kilograms and 5 hectares more than we achieved in 2024. During this time, we also hosted a Phragmites community cut event. We engaged 10 volunteers from the community who had on-site training and live demonstrations of how to identify, remove, and report invasive species such as invasive Phragmites. We gained their involvement in 2026 as well. We had 10 volunteers that have confirmed their involvement in Phragmites management again this year. And lastly, we developed a Phragmites management report. This report summarizes and assesses the effectiveness of controls. It also includes updated inventory and maps of Phragmites distribution within the township. It keeps detailed records of all management at each of our sites and its results, and then recommendations for future. This report is a tool that can help us secure funding for future invasive species management projects or restoration projects.
All right, so as Theron mentioned, at the end of that report, we provided a series of recommendations moving forward from 2026 and beyond. So the first one would be to, at a minimum, continue the control efforts that have been established at those 19 treated sites that were started in either 2024 or 2025. So it's really important to stay on top of that because through manual removal, Phragmites can take up to 5 to 7 years to fully eradicate. Obviously, the larger, more dense sites will take more time and continued efforts. So at a minimum, staying on top of those sites and continuing to add new prioritized sites. And then when doing that, it's important to prioritize the smaller, less dense sites, and also the ones that are more aquatic are a lot easier to fully eradicate quicker than the terrestrial ones. And then if feasible, if there's resources, to then expand to the other sites that are terrestrial and more dense. The second recommendation we have is to continue to update the invasive plant management plan. We presented on this at last year's council meeting where we developed the invasive plant management plan and mentioned that it could be integrated into existing strategic planning processes. So for example, the strategic plan, the operational plan, and the waste management strategy. There's suggestions within that report that suggest how that can be done. And also just in general, updating it with the year's results, the progress that's being made, and any new distribution maps, as well as new research and technologies. The third one is to consider posting the IPMP or the invasive plant management plan online for residents and the community for them to view. And then the last one is to continue doing a great job at fostering staff and community involvement through education and participation in things like training days, scouting, recording observations, as well as participating in the actual manual removal of Phragmites. And that's really important because the public are our eyes and ears, the best kind of first line of defense for preventing the spread of invasives. There we go. And in the interim, our immediate next steps are applying to grants to keep this good work going. So we've already worked with Seguin Township, Preston specifically, and others as well to apply to the Ontario Community Environment Fund for continued Phragmites management. As well, we're currently applying or drafting an application for Seguin to submit that will be to the Invasive Phragmites Control Fund. And then also new this year is that we've drafted and Seguin has submitted an invasive species action fund application for Japanese knotweed management. So continuing to expand on those efforts and fingers crossed for the success of all of those grants. We've really enjoyed working with Seguin Township over the last 2 years, and we really hope to continue the great work. So yeah, I think that's the end of our presentation. I think we have some time for questions and press.
Thank you very much. It's an impressive amount of work. I do have a quick question, and then I'll open it up to council. What do you do with the Phragmites after you cut them?
Sure. So in collaboration with Seguin Public Works staff, we use reused boat shrink wrap. So instead of putting it into our recycling, the garbage, we kind of divert it and from a single-use plastic, and we use that as our tarps to secure it. And then we transport it to the Christie landfill and transfer station there. And there's the big gravel pit or whatever it is there, where it lays out in the sun for 3 weeks at a minimum to solarize inside that boat shrink wrap. And then once it's solarized, unviable to grow, it gets buried for another added on control for it to not regrow and populate.
Thank you very much. Does Council Finson?
I'm just wondering, Japanese knotweed, if it's on private property, do you want to know about that? I'm on the Shadow River. I have Japanese knotweed in my yard. I have it covered with a tarp for now 2 years or so, but it keeps finding its way, around. So I just don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first thing that you can do is you can record that observation to EdMaps. Sometimes EdMaps is a little difficult for, the general public to understand how to use. So even iNaturalist is fine to use. And just kind of having that aware for staff like Preston, who will prioritize those sites. That's really key to just know where the sites are first, and then they can be added to a list to get prioritized and treated.
Because on the opposite side of the river, there's Phragmites as well. I don't have them yet.
Yeah.
They're across from me.
Yeah,
And it's very vulnerable because there's nobody who lives there. So
Okay.
nobody will know they're there. And I only know because I'm aware from here.
Yeah, and you can report it because
That's
they're
right.
aware of it. So that's the first thing that you can do. And then, yeah, it'll come down to Seguin staff who are prioritizing those sites for which ones are getting treated with the next year's round of treatment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Collins?
Thank you, Mayor. Is there anyone from our staff helping you guys out during this process? There is? Okay, that's good to know. I can see that in 2025, your concentration was more in our township than other townships. Do you plan in 2026 moving to another township, or are you going to be here in Seguin? What's your
So our plan as Generations Effect, so that's what I'm speaking from, is Generations Effect. So our plan is to continue partnering and working with Seguin Township to, again, continue treatment at those 19 sites, if possible, if there's resources and time to expand those sites. And then as a Generations Effect, we're also partnering with some other neighboring municipalities to get them to also get the capacity to then begin to manage invasive Phragmites. So there's a couple of municipalities that we're helping to apply to funds to get those resources.
So when you're actually out in the field and you're, obviously, I don't think you're chopping them down. I think you're derooting them, aren't you?
No, so we don't actually want to touch the root system. We are cutting them at the base. So we're just cutting the stems off. It's not a good idea to go after the root system because it can increase the spread of the plant. And that's why it's a pretty difficult one to keep continue managing because you need to deplete the nutrients that are in the top part of the plant before they then go down to the roots and help the plant grow more.
It's like a virus.
In a way.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fellner?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. An impressive program you started, and I think some really great results. And thank you very much for your effort. I was recently on a call somewhere. I think Preston might have been on that call with me with the Lake Association, I think. And we were talking, was that the call we were talking about Phragmites? No. Have they had the opportunity to go down and talk to the to that Lake Association and some of the other ones? Because I think there might be some interest there.
Yeah, to answer your question, we did hold a meeting for Lake Joe North and some of the surrounding associations where we presented on various programs ranging from invasives, water quality, and some of the work that we do on emissions, buildings, that kind of stuff, a little bit of waste management review as well. And we're definitely open and definitely willing, myself included, of course, to do that for other lake associations, or either individually or in a big collective, maybe a little bit more convenient. I'm sure we can get that going to more people if interested.
Yeah, I think that there was interest in the North Lake Joe. And if you're looking for some opportunities to grow your program and expand on it, it might be a good thing to go and visit with them.
I'll also just add that we're currently working on as I mentioned, the Invasive Phragmites Control Fund application. And so through that, we're going to be reaching out to a couple of cottage associations or lake associations to provide letters of support, see if they're looking to support that through volunteer time to manage. So yeah, it's a key component, I think, is getting those people engaged.
one more add-on. We also provided presentations and information to Blackwater and Black associations, the Black Road Association, on Phragmites since we did the cut in that area. So they did receive a presentation. And hopefully next year we can continue to treat and work with the community out there and potentially get more community events lined up. That also helps with treatment, education, community-based, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Preston. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Councillor Bazinski, do you have any questions?
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's important work, and I know it's hard work too. It's these things don't cut easily.
No. Thank you very much.
So thank you, and thank you for your partnership.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the staff reports as presented on the agenda for the January 12th, 2026 meeting of council. Could I have a mover, please? Terry and Ted. All in favor count of staff reports? Thank you. I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-002, being a bylaw to amend the Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-030-007-02500, R 2024-0025-F for 11 McNeese Farm Road is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I need a mover, please. Ken and Ted. Taylor, are you around? Tell us what this one's about.
Yes, I am. What's in the camera there? This is a continuation of a 2024 file. In the meantime, it's been having the property appraised from environmentalists. They're creating some new lots off of McNeese Farm Road. So it'd be the retained lands plus 3 lots. One of them has frontage on the wetland. The other 2 are rural. They have completed a successful environmental study. And there will be an extension of McNeese Farm Road, the municipal portion, to allow for a municipally built turnaround because the way it terminates today isn't desirable from a public works perspective. So that is desirable as well. I'm here for any questions, and I believe the agent John Jackson is in the audience as well if there are any questions.
Thank you very much. And we do have some correspondence objecting to this application. Does council have any questions? Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess this is in Councillor Brzezinski's ward. So I'm just wondering with Councillor Brzezinski, is he okay with this report moving forward?
Yes, I've reviewed the environmental studies that have been done and looked at the application and in my opinion, and also reviewed council's recommendation to approve it. And so in my opinion, I think it should be approved.
Thank you very much. All in favor? And that is passed. Carried. And the second part of this is that the council of the motion that the council of the corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application numbers B 2024-020 and 021 and 022-F for Lecoyer, subject to the conditions set out in the decision. I need a mover for this one, Greg and Terry. All in favor? Thank you. And that is also carried. And moving on to page 203. Wait a minute, it's 208. And we have a very comprehensive report from staff. Taylor, I think, might want to also be on screen for this. It is bringing back the rock crushing bylaw, and staff is looking for council direction on how to proceed. Taylor, do you want to weigh in a little bit here?
Certainly. This is just confirmed direction. The last time council saw a draft of the bylaw, they thought the scope was a little too rigid. If you look at page 209 of your agenda, those are some ideas of what I heard council discussing and I think can be incorporated in the bylaw. Since this was initiated by council, staff is receptive to any ideas or comments in order to get this to the next step, which is passing or denying a bylaw.
Does council have any questions or concerns? And how do you feel about the next steps for staff? Councillor Fellner, I believe this came originally from you.
This did come originally from me, so I guess it's only fitting that I speak to it. It sort of morphed into, when I first thought it would be something that would be desirable, it's certainly morphed into something a little bit more than what I envisioned. I mean, what my concern was setting up a crushing or mechanical processing operation on lakeshore lots, as for two reasons. One to somewhat try to limit the amount of rock that's being taken off some of these lakeshore rock lots in order to develop the property in excess of what's actually required in order to make aggregate, and that's happened in the past. And the noise and nuisance to residents. I mean, it's a dusty, loud sort of operation. So then, of course, it morphed into, oh, well, no, you know, what about this and that and the other thing, and backlots and developments and, you know, crushing on roads that are going to become township roads and making aggregate in remote places. And it certainly has its place there. And I don't think we should deter that. I'd be satisfied if we had a bylaw that limited the time period that it could occur on lakeshore property. And I think you know, the time specified and the amount of time specified would cover that, and leave it alone everywhere else. Sort of my inclination there. I think that would be what I'd like to see.
Thank you. And Councillor Bazinski?
Thank you. Well, I've had some response from people in my ward, and they're kind of negative for a number of reasons. Number one, in the past, there was always comment that Seguin made it very difficult for people to build, and this would be just another bylaw. We haven't seen a real issue in I don't think the northern part of the township, and as well, the roads are in, you know, in difficult situations, and having trucks running back and forth over the roads and taking rock to a central location to have it crushed, I think would create more strain on our roads. So I'm not in favor of it. Thank you.
Councillor Getty?
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, part of the problem here is, you know, it's a secondary result of a primary problem, and that is the over destruction of the shield in the first place. So we're potentially putting in a bylaw to prohibit something or limit something and really not dealing with the root cause of the issue. It's the quite frankly, it's the large lake destruction of the shoreline or the areas within those lakes. There is some creep that will move in. Lakes that I have, Clear Lake and Whitefish, have the potential for it. But the reality is, this is a secondary problem that's coming as a result of that primary problem that unfortunately we're not able to deal with at this time. I think, and it's very difficult, in fairness to staff, to come up with something that's fair and equitable and enforceable across the township. So I'm not in favor of eliminating it, even on shoreline properties. But I do think that we have to put some kind of limiting on it. I think, for me personally, I think that the 15 or 30 days is even high. Quite frankly, I'm good with 7 days. I think on a normal, reasonable, contractors and builders in this community have to work on the shield. Many times they do have to, blast the basement or to be able to put the forming in that's required. To have them then take that rock off, crush it and bring it back, quite frankly, increases the cost not only to them, but also to the property owner that's trying to develop or build on their property. So I think, we have to find a balance. What I'd like to see is finding a balance that protects the rights of adjacent or nearby property owners, but also respects the right of the person that wants to develop their property reasonably. And in fact, supporting, the economic development and the economic well-being of the contractors in the community. So for me, I do appreciate where this has gone. I thought the number of days was a little bit high. I'd like to start, I'd like to see it at 7 on a single lot, because quite frankly, anything beyond a week, which is really 5 working days anyway. And again, I'm not a quarry operator or a crusher or involved in planning or building, but it would seem to me reasonable that if the average person was looking to develop their property, they brought in a crusher outside of the timelines that are being suggested. Sure, there's going to be some noise for those 5 days or those 7 days, but that's really the cost of development in the environment that we live in. I think if it's going to go beyond that, then I don't know whether it's feasible to have to come back to council for an exemption to that and put the responsibility on us. But I think that I'm not against eliminating it, quite frankly, anywhere within, but I do recognize that we have to deal with the problem that we have. And I don't know how we deal with the annihilation of pieces of the Canadian Shield on some of these lakes. That's something that we're all struggling with. But I think for me, the 15 and or 30 days is a little high. I'd like to see it at a week. I think a week is reasonable. And, maybe on a larger development or a multi-lot development, maybe there would be a 15-day. But beyond that, I think it would be reasonable for it to come back to council for an exemption of approval. Thank you.
Councillor Collins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple of questions for Taylor.
I'm here.
Yeah. Hi, Taylor. Number 4, under requested direction, it says, I don't understand exactly what crushing that is undertaken by a public authority. What do you mean by that?
That'd be the government or an agency thereof, so the township or MTO or contractor of any of them.
Okay. So in other words, are you telling me that a contractor has to have a license to do this?
No, I'm not telling you that at all.
Okay.
These are some of the suggestions which I heard council say the last meeting. So this isn't a licensing or a permitting process. These are actually the exemptions. So the way it's set up in that 1, 2, 3, 4, if you're abiding by those rules, you're good to go. Propose, or if council wants to cancel any of those or add to them, now's the time, I think, to discuss it. Or if council doesn't want to proceed with this bylaw, that's an option as well.
Yeah, understood. Under financial impact, you've got staff time. additional bylaws require additional staff resources to enforce. Are you telling us that you may have to hire somebody to?
I'm not telling you that at all either. It would just be being towed in another direction. Something to be cognizant of it as whenever the township adds new bylaws. We essentially only have one bylaw officer on at any given time because they're in shift work.
Okay. I just like to, I had to make some, with all due respect to you, Councillor Fellner, I had to make some comments and I wrote them down here because I like to stay my focused here is, and I know you would remember this because not too long ago, and I'm thinking now probably 10, 12 years ago, building contractors at that time refused to build in Seguin Township. And it was because of our stringent bylaws. There was too many rules, regulations, and red tape to go through. And I know you know that. And that's why they left. So here we are ready to tighten the screws on an important first build process. We do tout ourselves as a pro-development council. I, for one, do not want to see us go backwards. Now that the contractors are back building again in our township, I want to make the right choice moving forward. And let's make a decision, the right decision for everyone, including the residents, including the contractors, and including our township. And that's where I'm just saying this now that you know, we've got to make a prudent decision here before we rubber stamp this. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Adams.
Excuse me. I like the idea of the timeline for when you can do it. And when we discussed it last time, I think we said 7 days and you could apply for an extension if you needed more time. I don't know how this would really affect the contractors that much. Because they should be really be doing the building in the summer. They should have all their stonework done in the spring. Because it saves a lot. I agree with pretty much, I agree with the two things on here, and that's the September 15th to May the 15th. They can do all the crushing and whatever. But I disagree with the 15 days. Like Councillor Getty said, I think that should be 7 days. But I don't think we restrict anybody from not crushing. Like it's part of construction, and it's got to be done if it's needed. To haul it off on the roads, that would have to be a pretty big job, to haul it off the roads. So I agree with all of that. And as far as the bylaw goes, does it need to be a bylaw, or can it be it'd have to be a bylaw, I guess, to put it through. Then I do agree with the bylaw.
Taylor, you have something to say?
Through your worship, I was just going to note that if it's going to be enforceable, it would have to be a bylaw.
Thank you.
I would agree with that. Councillor Fellner?
So everybody got a kick at this?
I got one more thing to say, buddy.
Yeah, when I was first. So I want to say one thing. I mean, maybe I think Councillor Getty hit the nail right on the head here. The whole thing here is not to deter development, right? But to ensure that it's done in a responsible manner. And I think Councillor Getty saw firsthand from sitting on the Committee of Adjustment. I know the mayor's seen firsthand sitting on the Committee of Adjustment. I know Councillor Vincent has seen it firsthand just touring around her ward, and the same with me. Yeah, it's it isn't a good enough reason to say, no, we shouldn't do anything about this because it's not happening in my ward. Because I got news for all of you. It will happen.
Oh, it's happening in mine.
It will happen. It will happen up at Otter Lake, for sure. Clear Lake, it's gonna happen, right? Because that's the property values going up and up and up, and everybody wants to maximize their investment. But to Councillor Getty's remark 2-3 years ago when we both sat on the Committee of Adjustment, I mean, it took Mother Nature thousands of years to create this. And in 1 second, it's done. It's gone, right? So there's a balance here, guys, between being pro-development, which you guys know I am, and being environmentally responsible and environment first. And I'm a big proponent that there's the rock excavation that's occurring on these big sites is far in excess of what's required, right? And the reason is because it's cheaper to make product on site, right? Than to buy it. You know, well, now I get 3 tennis courts. Everybody gets 3 tennis courts on a lot. So now, I mean, so to me, what's proposed here is reasonable. I think Councillor Getty's hit the nail right on the head. 7 days, you can only throw so much rock in 7 days. You know, maybe it's a start. But if we don't do anything, it's gonna run right away and it's gonna get away from us, guaranteed.
Thank you. I think Councillor Collins had it, and then Councillor Getty. And Mario too.
I'll pass this over to Councillor Getty right now. I'd like to listen to him first.
Okay. Councillor Getty, you have the floor.
Mess it up then. And my feeling on the 7 days, because I had mentioned 7 days when it came up before, and I think that, if we find that 7 days is too restrictive on our contractors, then we can always bring it back for an amendment to take it to 15 days. I think it's much more difficult and more unfair to our contractors and to the people that are, doing this to go to 15 and then say, hey, we still have a problem and cut it back to 7. That's why I'm suggesting 7. We can always then amend it to take it to 10, to take it to 12, to take it to 15, or it may be that 7 is the responsible number that we're at. And that's why I'm proposing 7. Thank you.
Councillor Bazinski.
Thank you. Well, with all due respect, it's not very likely that there are going to be too many lakes that could have anything like this happen. Number one, the majority of the lakes in the township are at their carrying capacity, whether it's biological or recreational. So no new lot, very few lots are going to be created. There are no new lots going to be created on Otter Lake, for instance. Secondly, I think, can this not be handled through the planning process? We can have site plan control. We can have a review of what the application is. And if council feels that someone is building a Taj Mahal, which includes massive rock removals, it can be modified at the planning stage. So I just think that, I'm already getting a lot of constituents saying you have bylaws, but you're not enforcing them. And this is especially true in terms of waste management. So I don't really want to see another unenforceable bylaw in place. It just, to me, seems there are other tools that we have that we can deal with something like this. And this is pretty much a one-off because there are not many people that can afford to do what was done on that site, I don't think, in our township, certainly not on Otter Lake. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Collins, last word.
Thank you, Mayor. This question's for Taylor.
Yes.
Taylor, didn't Seguin have an original bylaw, the first bylaw that was enforceable for rock cutting or rock blasting? Did, in the past, prior to the one that we asked you to come back with?
Yeah, we had one that
We
was
never
dated
had
back
one?
2008. So that was a site alteration bylaw / tree cutting. This one is a bit different though, because it doesn't concern itself with blasting. It's strictly limited to crushing of blast rock.
Oh, wait a minute. It's what?
It's only limited to the crushing. So a big rock crusher like that you'll see in pits and quarries. That's all this one is concerned with.
No, that was the original one?
No, the original one, sorry, was a rock blasting or site alteration bylaw. So whether it was blasting, or excavation, that's what the 2008 bylaw was.
Okay. Going back to what Councillor Getty said about the 7 days. Now, would there be a permit required to blast for those 7 days?
As
Crushing,
proposed right
crushing.
now, there would not be.
Okay, because what if they can't do it in 7 days? And they're already in the middle of,
An extension.
They come and apply.
so
for
they
an extension.
can get an extension is what, oh, okay. As long as we stay under that perimeter, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? 7 days and if, depend, because you guys have some pretty big homes being built there and, to have a guy, a contractor there for 7 days, it may not be long enough, but as long as they come back and finish the job, I'm okay with that.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to try and summarize what I think I heard. And I do want to point out, it doesn't matter whether a lake's at capacity or not, because they just knock down the cottage and start again and build a new one. And believe me, that's happening on big lakes, little lakes, everywhere. We've had a few that during construction process, our neighbors are calling them the Little Lake Joe quarries. And these are on existing lots where the old frame cabin has come down and now there's a 3-story house built into the side of a hill. So, Councillor Getty, when you can get a bylaw or a planning thing through that says respect Mother Nature, I'll vote for it. Because the architects are taking the easy way out by digging a hole instead of working with what Mother Nature gave us. But what I'm hearing today is that we would like Taylor and his team to go ahead and draft the bylaw using the list of things that are on page 209, but shortening the period to 7 days for now. And I strongly support item number 1, that none of this happens in the peak season of the summer. I lived beside a couple of these, and not only were they noisy, they were really dirty with the dust. And it went on and on and on and on for 7 or 8 weeks. And there was no need for that during peak cottage season. So I think what I'm hearing, I'll ask for a show of hands, that the direction, Taylor, is proceed with the bylaw, 7 days, and your points that are listed on the second paragraph, basically on page 209. Am I correct in that? Okay. Taylor, have you got the direction?
I understand.
Okay. Thank you for all the work you've done so far. I think it will improve the quality of life and hopefully the soul searching of some of the architects. Okay. We move on to item 8B, which is the Ontario Federation of Trail Riders asking for some support from the township for the recreational trail on Crown land. And I understand you're here. I'm going to ask Councillor Fellner, who has a fair amount of experience with Crown properties, because that's where the park-to-park trail, a lot of it is, to say, what is the process to use Crown land? And then I'll open it up to let you folks speak. Terry, tell us your experience.
How are you guys today? Good. So myself and our CAO, we've spent a good a good amount of time the last 2 years dealing with the MNRF on the recreational use of Crown land, but it pertained to the Seguin Trail. Okay. What we did learn from them under the Public Lands Act that was modified in, I think, 2015 or something, I think the guy told us, is that you can apply for a work permit, right, to make improvements on Crown land. You don't have to have a land use permit. If you make application, in this instance, to the MNRF in Perry Sound to develop a trail system, they will reach out to the Seguin Township and they will ask us to either endorse your plan or not. And depending on what your plan is, we'd either endorse it or not, right? The one thing I just want you guys to be aware of is if you do build a trail system, you don't have the right to prevent anybody from entering on it. You don't have the right to have deny anybody the use, and you don't have the right to demand a permit, right? So which leaves you a little bit in a precarious position for funding, right? If you want to go for a land use permit, then you need to understand that you will take 100% of the liability on the property. So that as long as you know all that, right? I think our concern here would be, or my concern would just be from a noise aspect, from buffering from neighborhoods. And I don't think that myself personally, I would withhold support of your organization, but I think at this time, I think it's a little premature. I think you got to go for your work plan and see how that's received. And that it sounds like I see you nodding your head. So it sounds like you're a ways into the process. So have you applied for your work plan? So have we got a copy of it? Could we get a copy of it? I think we'd need to see, my opinion, I'd like to see a copy of your work plan. Then based on that, I think we can either.
Before we give them the support?
Well, no, we don't have it, but
No, we don't have it.
we don't have anything other than your request for a support. And I don't think you're hearing negatives. You're hearing process a little bit. And I do have to point out that Seguin has at least 15 to 20 years experience with the noise associated with trails associated at the deaf camp. Yeah, I'll call on you in a minute. You really aren't supposed to. That's not process. But we're very, very conscious of that year after year after year. And that's an organized camp with schedules. And what we're hearing from you is that it would be open to anybody, anytime, any time of the year or day or night. And that, for me, because I'm the one that gets the calls on the deaf camp, that poses a bit of a challenge to us. Councillor Fellner.
To your point, though, if I may, it really, it makes no difference whether they do it or someone else does it, or if it's done on Crown land, anybody can go. So to me, that's the miss here, is there's no one there to manage, correct, Jason? So like I said, I think from my mind, I'd like to see your work plan. And I just want to make sure you guys aren't getting into something that could go sideways on you. That's all.
At this point in a council meeting, normally you are not allowed to approach, but since you're here and you've gone to the effort, come on up and in 5 minutes, give us what you'd like us to do.
Thank you very much for your time. Good afternoon to all of you. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for letting me to speak today. Just a little bit about the Ontario Federation of Trail Riders. So we are a nonprofit organization. We were established in 1992. So this isn't something new that we're doing. We have 15 clubs throughout the province. And right here, we have the Muskoka Off-Road Riders. They are a chapter club of the OFTR. We're only here today we're not asking for the township for any funding. We're strictly just asking for your support, as you mentioned, to access the 2,800 hectare area of Crown land. One of the things I would like to respond is the Camp of the Deaf. A lot of those bikes are motocross bikes. They're different than trail bikes. We have a set sound that you have to be no louder than 94 decibels, but most of our trail bikes are very quiet. So we take sound very seriously. And as we do, a lot of our events do sound testing when we host events, and that's usually in Simcoe County. What we're trying to do is do things properly. People are already riding on this Crown land. You have your ATVs, you have people, they're hunting and fishing. All we're trying to do is establish a multi-use trail system, which would be used by more than just the off-road motorcycle community. It would be used by snowshoers. It would be used by cross-country skiers. We also share with the equestrians. The only complaint our equestrian partners have ever said is that we don't trim the trees high enough. The other thing we don't do is we don't cut down trees. We just use hand saws, which is taking away branches. Our trail network is strictly a single track. So it is no wider than the handlebars of an off-road motorcycle. And in this trail network, which we're trying to establish properly, because a lot of people just go out and build trails, what we're trying to do is do it legally with the MNRF. We are not going to be using this for exclusive use. We are only going to be using it so that it's a multi-trail network to bring in tourism, to bring in economic development. Just so you know a little bit about our demographic, in 2023, we did a study. It was commissioned by Moto Canada as well as Canadian Quad Council. There was the 2/3 of our riders are over the age of 45, with a large concentration between 45 and 65. These are responsible, established people who want to give back to their local community as well as enjoy the trail network. So, to close, again, we're not asking for any funding. We have the application. We're surprised that you haven't got it because we did try and share it, but this is something to be used by many people. This isn't exclusive to us. We want to be able to share with the community and again, bring people in. And again, the sound, we are very strict with it. We have turned people away and have told them that they're not allowed to ride because their bike is too loud. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Getty.
Well, I just want to say I'm a little confused in the process today because I knew this presentation was coming and I thought it would be a delegation. And when I saw it in business, I thought it would be coming up earlier and we would be getting a presentation. I understand the concerns that have been voiced, but we're telling these people what the problems are that we're anticipating, that we have fear of before we even got the application or the presentation from them. I actually, I learned something in regards to the process, so that part of it was good. But I think that in fairness to this application, I'd like to see it as a delegation, and maybe part of that would be a delegation and with a presentation with the application and an explanation of the trail. I am involved in the issues relative to the Camp of the Deaf as well, but I see this as being completely different. And I see the area that's being looked at. I think it is very remote, and I think that, we have a number of mental health and developmental issues with young people now. And here is a group of people that are looking to bring a program forward. There may be issues that, yes, as a township, we have a responsibility to express our concerns to them and to work with them. But they're bringing something forward that puts children outside, not in front of a screen, not under the influence of the internet. And quite frankly, I think I'm excited about the application. Is there concerns in regards to noise that we have a responsibility to deal with? Absolutely. But I think for me, I was surprised. I thought this was a delegation. The fact that it came in business, and I actually went back and read your letter. to see, and it doesn't say that you want to make a delegation, you want to work with staff. So I'm asking, I guess, Mayor and Craig, and yourselves, would it be possible that we could put this on for a delegation at the next meeting where you can present the business plan to us, and then we can ask questions relative to it specifically, as opposed to the council table telling you what the problems we've had with other areas that are operating, maybe completely different or maybe similarly. But I think for me, I don't think that fundamentally it has my support, but I do understand the concerns that we have, and can we make it a delegation where you can present your application? And if there was a problem that it didn't get here, then that would rectify that as well. Thank
Just
you.
to clarify, a delegation gives you 10 minutes to present. You can give us PowerPoint, but it would give you the chance to show us what you've submitted to the, government, and maybe tell us what kind of reply you got from the government. Excuse me. So I certainly would support putting it back on the next agenda and giving you an opportunity to present and detail what support you need to go to the next step.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Councillor Finson.
I just wanted to say that I was pretty excited about it too. and it's gonna put me down, but hopefully next time we'll get more out of it, because it made me pretty excited to think that there's going to be trails on. I mean, I have a little tiny wee piece of property in North Bay, and I can't wait to put trails so that people can go on them, and it's accessed by Crown land. So I kind of understand what you're talking about. So I was pretty excited about that big piece. So hopefully
North Bay is our next club, so
I'm excited.
Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering, before you come back with your plan, do you need a letter of support from the township? Would that help?
so that's why we're here, because to finalize our application that we have so far is they would like to see, and really it is just and not even a letter of support, a comment of support, which is why we were here today.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, why can't we give them a letter of support and let them go ahead and do their business? And if they, if they're successful, great. If they're not, but in their report, it's pretty much self-explanatory. It falls right into our excuse me, guys. Excuse me.
Looking at alternatives.
Oh, okay.
Our CAO is going to give us an option.
Okay, I have not even finished yet. It falls into our Seguin's official plan for tourism and rural economic development. It's in my ward, and I fully support it for them to move ahead with their venture and with the Ministry of Natural Resources. So all they need from us is a letter of support to do that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jason, the CAO, for some options.
Thank you, Worship, members of council. I think the ask today is for a letter of support for the application. Once if council chooses to do that, there's very little risk associated with providing a letter of support. The ministry will formally request our input and opinion on the application at a future date. Once they've received a complete application, they then engage the municipality at that point in time. So it's pretty low risk if council says this seems like a great idea and we support the application. It's not saying you're supporting anything other than, yeah, go ahead and make an application.
I think you've heard council say that we can do. And we do want, I think it would be to your advantage and our information and knowledge to have you come back as a delegation, perhaps when you've heard back.
Perfect. I appreciate that.
And there may be questions that come out of the MNRF.
Absolutely.
That you would share with us too. So the next step will be we'll draft a letter. You need to tell us where to send it.
Yeah.
usually it goes directly to the government or could be part of your application.
Perfect. We will. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
for your
you
time.
for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Counselor Bazinski, I skipped over item 8A in error. That is an item that you put on the agenda. So we'll go back to 8A.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to bring it up. Anyway, and it's an overlap with my council report, but I've had numerous people complain about the state of the roads this winter. And I'm not going to be negative. What I'd like to do is try to take a positive approach and say, okay, the last 2 or 3 winters have been pretty challenging, not just the winters, but the spring too, and the fall, just in terms of weather. And I think rather than taking a reactionary approach to the management of our roads, we should be trying to look at a proactive approach. And I think council would probably like to hear from staff, not today, perhaps at the next council meeting, about what do we have for road maintenance? Like, what equipment do we have? How many staff? Should we be looking at additional road maintenance equipment, additional staff? You know, it's like the fire department. You have people in a normal, well, no, I can't say that. In a municipality that's got an established fire department, a lot of times the firemen and women are not engaged, but they're ready for it. Same thing with fighting forest fires in the bush. Are we ready for it? So I'd like to suggest that we should look into, okay, how equipped are we? What are our contingency plans if some of this happens? Because we are having some significant weather events, and I'm getting the impression from my residents that maybe we should try and do a bit more. There are incidental things too, like on second line, how the plow goes and creates a very large windrow and makes it hard for people to get into that road. So those are little logistical things that we could deal with. But the broader issue is, are we just going to go through every year and you know, have excuses because the weather hasn't been good? Or can we look at a proactive approach where we look and say, okay, how could we be better prepared? Thank you.
Thank you. I think this council passed a very proactive roads program when our Director of Public Works came to us in September and said, I'd like to tackle the roads in a different way than we were originally doing it. And we passed in September that he and his team would identify the key issue areas, some of which repeat year after year after year. I'm looking at Councillor Finson, who knows that Burgess Road is usually a lake every spring. And I've actually seen some kids paddling on it. So it was my understanding that our Director of Public Works came to us with a very proactive team and program. And in budget, we looked at exactly what equipment he has, and he gave us an analysis of what he thinks he needs, and we approved it in the budget. So I don't want to create extra bureaucratic work for roads department, but I think we as a council have kind of addressed this by authorizing the director to lead us to the problem areas. So I'm going to ask you to, the director can't be with us due to a family emergency, but I think our CAO has most of the background and details.
Thank you, Worship. A couple of thoughts just to share with council. When it comes to winter maintenance, as an example, you know, we are governed under the Municipal Act and the minimum maintenance standards as to how frequent and how quickly or how slow we respond to weather events. That's sort of on the day-to-day. We are continuously working on improving our maintenance program through the summer. Our Public Works Director has brought forward several ideas for council's consideration with respect to equipment. And you've adopted certain things like a revised fleet management, fleet replacement policies that help us put the right equipment in place. With respect to the capital program, you're correct, Your Worship, that on September the 2nd, we did present a report that amended our work plans for the next 3 years with respect to capital infrastructure improvements on our roads, where we allocated the funds available to very specific areas with recurrent road issues year after year. We're back to the same spots. So we know that those very specific areas require some attention rather than allocating all of our resources to one or two roads specific. That plan identified approximately 18 kilometers of road segments on 12 different roads over a 3-year window, with a focus on things like dig outs, drainage improvements, pavement, gravel surfacing, and again, all prioritizing resolving issues in problem areas, recurring problem areas. So I think that's a little bit different than perhaps what Councillor Brzezinski was speaking to. I think he was wanting to analyze the resources that we allocate on a day-to-day basis. So I would seek some clarity from that, or if that explanation helps guide council through where we're headed, then if that suffices, we're great. If not, I would appreciate a bit more feedback.
Councillor Brzezinski, I see your hand up.
Yes, and what I'd like to say is I'm aware of some of the improvements we're going to make to the road base and so on and so forth, but that's not the operational improvements that I'm talking about. I'm talking about plows perhaps churning up the road before the roadbed's frozen. I'm talking about the freeze-thaw cycles, and is there anything else we can do? Where you have a lake forming, I know the former director of Public Works, if there was a washout of the road, he would upsize the culverts so that it would help resolve the problem. I guess, and I see you're smiling, Mayor, but the thing is, I'm the one taking the comments from the public. So I have to explain to them what we're doing. And to be quite honest, I don't know what we're doing because it hasn't been clearly communicated to council, regardless of what you're saying. And I have some concerns about the proactive approach versus the reactive approach, which I see we're doing a lot more of. And in terms of the winter maintenance, do we have enough snowplows? Do we have enough people on? It's not, we can't just do 9 to 5. And I know that most people don't do 9 to 5. They do it when the snow comes. But it would be nice for me to be able to say when an irate ratepayer calls me up about the condition of the road or the condition of the maintenance, to have a little bit more ammunition to give him or her. And that's what I'm asking for, is just, can we have a clear narrative on where the township is in terms of the equipment? Is it adequate? What happens in emergencies? I know, talking to our CAO, he said he helped out, in Muskoka when we had the terrible ice storm, and that's very laudable and should be the way it is. Do we have agreements with other municipalities to do the same if we get hammered? Those are the only thing. I'm just asking for something very clear that I can respond to my ratepayers with. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fellner.
I have ratepayers. I think we all do. I have some that ask me more questions than others, but all in all, I guess maybe I don't live in, I haven't had that type of concerns about the actual, especially the winter maintenance. I mean, the winter maintenance, I've had comments the other way, quite frankly, where the winter maintenance is exceptional. Especially for a rural area when the difficulty of the grades and the conditions of the roads. You know, the changes in climate are, you know, this freeze thaw cycle, freeze thaw, this rain, snow that everybody's noticed that. I mean, it's just more prevalent. We just went through one again. I mean, that's the thing that is really playing mischief with the road system. It's really hard to get the roads to set, to freeze, and to get the banks set. I don't know. I mean, we gave the roads department more money for more staff to increase the maintenance, right? When we approved the 2026 budget, and there was people, you know, around this table that were very concerned about the rate increase, as was I, but I did make the comment, you know, that we're not giving roads as much money for 2026 as what they had for 2025. That's the reality of it. We did not give them an increase that would keep up with it, with the increased costs. And if you look back at the budget process in this township over the last 15 to 20 years, right? It's been sort of the same thing, right? And here we are today, right? Where we've got a lot of roads that need, you know, big capital improvements, and we don't have the money to do it. But until we do it, they're just become more and more and more difficult to maintain. So it's sort of like a dog chasing its tail, right? But I wouldn't want staff to take this the wrong way, because as far as the service in my ward, it's been excellent. Couldn't ask for better.
Thank you. And I think you're right. We all get the calls. I got one sitting in Morocco at 8 o'clock at night on New Year or Christmas Eve because my phone was forwarded. What about the pothole at the top of Jean Marie Road? There wasn't much I could do, but we all get those calls. They're not limited to one ward. Councillor Adams?
I think too, we've got to remember there's not a lot of downtime in the winter. And these guys are working hours and hours and day after day after day. They need a break. They need to rest to get ready for the next load. So as far as winter maintenance, they do what they can as far as I'm concerned. And other than that, they're out plowing snow. And, you know, that's all.
And they meet at 4 a.m. And if you want to ride with them, take them coffee and cookies. Councillor Finson.
Oops, sorry.
I would just like to say I've had many calls. I'm at the bottom of the only hill in, well, not the only hill in Seguin, but it's like the worst one in Rosso. But anyway, I have several times called and just said, could it be done this way instead of that way? And all very receptive, and they come through for me every single time. I just call and say, this seems to be a problem going that way, and they change it. It's not like they won't. They'll go a different way. They'll push the snow further. I'm on the end, so sometimes it gets pushed into me, but they're very careful. They'll come back and they'll push it away so that we don't have that big mountain of, but so I'm just saying that when something happens and someone calls me, usually I just call and ask, is there anything that can be done about this? And it's always done. I've never had a negative. I mean, they're amazing in my opinion in my ward, and I do get a fair number of calls. Anyway, thank you.
Councillor Bazinski, last comment on this.
Thank you. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to say, can we perhaps, if there's, you know, a significant number of calls and it isn't one pothole or it's not at the bottom of one hill, can council just get a little bit better understanding of what is going on? Because if, council should be, they are the link between the public and the staff. And if we're not clear on the situation, then I think it would be incumbent upon staff to explain, do they have enough equipment? Do they think they need more? Do they need more staff? Do they, why are there certain persistent areas that we get called on all the time, like, and not just in the summer, but in the winter? I'm just asking for a little bit more clarification is all. And yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask Jason, our CAO, to respond.
So thank you, Worship. So, of course, we take our direction from council. So council, if the majority of you would like us to prepare a report that defines levels of service, resource allocation, we can do that. We take our instructions from you. So, we're happy to do whatever it is you need done if that's what council wants. There's a body of work to be done to produce a report, and if that's what you'd like, we are happy to do so.
Councillor Getty?
I personally don't need that report. I think that while I understand Councillor Brzezinski's, frustration with getting calls repeatedly, and we all do, and many of them are similar locations on a regular basis. But I think, to the point, we did go through the budget process. We made a decision as council then in regards to any equipment upgrades that we needed at the time. I think that we did give direction in regards to the new strategy that was brought forward by Public Works in regards to how they were going to try to deal with the 18 kilometers of problems that were repeat problems. I think the reality is to Councillor Fellner's point of the freeze thaw and the environmental impacts that we're having on our roads, they are just the reality of being a councillor on this council. We are going to get calls, and kind of echoing what Councillor Finson said. When I get those calls, quite frankly, I don't have the answers because I don't have the expertise, but I make a phone call and I get an answer, and then I'm able to give an explanation back. And I can't think of a time where one of my problems haven't been addressed. I mean, I may have overall issues in regards to some things, but whether we the pave or repave or unpave Clear Lake Road or those type of issues. But in regards to the individual potholes or some of the problems that I receive, they're either repaired or I get an explanation relative to it. So I think, in fairness for me, I would like to see the results of the plan that was presented, how it works out through the year. And then I think that I agree that we have a responsibility as a council then to maybe give different direction if that doesn't work out. But I think, we've approved that, and I think we should allow that to run its course and see where it goes. And that's, quite frankly, that's not kicking it. I'm not looking to kick the can down the road, pardon the pun. I think that, we just can't, I'm not big on the shotgun effect where we just jump from one to another, one idea to another. If there's a reason to change. And if there isn't, then let's see if that plan is going to work.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Getty makes me reflect on some of the traveling around the province that I do on a routine basis, and comments and discussion points that I have with colleagues around the province. We're not alone. We're not alone. This is not a Seguin specific problem. We have some unique problems of our own with respect to our roadway network, given the fact that a vast majority of our roads were developed as logging roads, potentially 50, 75 or more years ago, 100 years ago. And that's where I think our revised work program is targeting some of those recurring problems. But again, we're not alone, and it's not unique. And the the impacts of climate change, or however you want to refer to the increased storm severity, the consistent freeze-thaw cycles, it is changing. The environment's changing. And again, that's not just Seguin. Well, that is happening all over the place. We're, again, happy to take on whatever task it is you would like us to do. We have a revised work plan we need to go execute. You've given us direction to do so. The budget was approved with that included in it, and that is our game plan. So we're ready to roll for 2026.
Councillor Adams, last comment on this one.
I was going to say, I don't think we need to do that till spring. I don't think it's something that needs to be done right now. So
I would agree. And one little solution that Tom and Katie have helped me with, when I can't answer something, they give me a standard paragraph that I attach to my emails that explains where they're working in my ward. So if I can't answer it, I ask them for some help. And what should I say? And often it is, we're working at full capacity in the winter. And I would like to see this, as Councillor Getty suggested, let's evaluate how we're doing after the spring and before we go into the next budget. Should we change, or is it working? That would be my feeling. And at this point, I'd rather have our roads crews out on the roads rather than writing reports.
Just a quick point of clarity, because I've heard a couple times after the spring, we're just plowing snow for the winter time. Road reconstruction doesn't happen until the summer and into the fall. So I just wanted to be clear that
pre-budget,
the results of the work that we anticipate doing will not be able to be evaluated till year end.
Okay, thank you. And we move on to 8C. We have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby authorize the following members of council to attend the 2026 Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO Conference, being held August 16th to 19th, 2026 in Ottawa. Reimbursement of expenses will be as per township policy. So far, it's Councillor Finson and I think our trustee staff member, Jason, will be there, but he doesn't get on this motion. Could I have a mover? Terry? A seconder? Anybody else want to go? All in favor? And that is carried. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-003, being a bylaw to authorize the borrowing for the year 2026, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Ken, and a seconder, please. Gail. All in favor? This is standard. Thank you. Done. Council reports. Ken.
it's been a while. On December the 6th, I attended the 3rd annual turkey dinner in Orville. It was well attended again this year, and I think we owe a huge thanks to all the volunteers. They did an amazing job again this year. It was excellent. On December the 11th, I attended the staff Christmas lunch. December the 17th, I attended the Recreation and Culture meeting. December the 31st, I attended the New Year's Eve fireworks. It was well attended again this year, and I served a lot of hot dogs. Thank you.
Councillor Bazinski.
Yes, on December the 10th, I attended an ice cap meeting, and there was a fellow, Liam Thompson, who's the wildfire planning person for the Township of the Archipelago. And he was talking about what the archipelago is doing in terms of forest fire prevention and using the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry forest hazard mapping. And I'm sure that we are also doing that. So that was a very lively meeting. And I've had, I won't repeat it, but numerous concerns about the road situation, but more importantly, with our Meeting on the 15th coming up, a lot of concern about the Bon Echo transfer station. I'll bring all of that to the meeting on the 15th. And that was about it. Thank you.
Councillor Getty.
Thank you, Mayor. Since the last meeting, I had a committee of adjustment meeting, also had a library board meeting, and I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to do deliveries for the turkey dinner. And thanks to everybody for the work that they did. And I actually took my grandchildren with me. And I thought it was a good opportunity there for them to learn that there's people in the community that need a little more help, and they'll get them to start giving back into the community. Thanks, Ken, for arranging all the deliveries, and other than the fact that you sent me on a wild goose chase with one of them, but thanks very much.
Councillor Fellner.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Pretty much everybody at the a big thanks for everybody that helped in the turkey dinner, both volunteering at the hall, in the kitchen,
The halls.
all the halls, multiple halls, the people that donated financially, everybody that came together to make it a success. It was the biggest year we've had. I think we cooked 460 dinners. And both settings were totally sold out. That's the first time. So it went as smooth as these things go. Let's put it that way. Again, thank you very much. I attended the staff Christmas lunch. It was great. It was a good time to see the staff, and they headed out and did a little skating afterwards. It was good to see. Also attended the rec committee meeting prior to Christmas and New Year's Eve. I attended the function with Ken at the Foley Fairgrounds, and it was a great function. This was the second year for it. It's an event that's aimed towards young families. So there was a disc jockey. The skating rink was open this year. The weather cooperated. We had fireworks, which and Ken cooked a lot of hot dogs. So many hot dogs, we almost ran out. So I think it was probably maybe twice as many people as the first year. And I talked to numerous families, both there that night and ran into a few since, and they said this was the best event that they could have hoped for having the little kids and lots for them to do. And so big shout out to Janet, Kathy, Kenny, Sam, Janet. We're all there helping. And next year, I think I think we plan on making it bigger. It was really it was a great event. So thank you.
Councillor Collins.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. Last month, I attended the turkey dinner and the airport lunch. This month, I attended the Seguin business meeting in the morning, and in the evening, we had a DSAB meeting on the same day, on the 8th. Also, I had many calls about full compactors at the landfill site. Well, the township was closed for the Christmas holidays. I will be submitting an invoice to the township for my work moving garbage around during that time at the landfill site. I was with a rake pushing the garbage bags that always land at the front of the compactor to the rear of the compactor so other residents could put their bags of garbage inside the compactor rather than outside the compactor. There was about maybe 30, 40 calls, but I didn't want to disturb staff because it was the holidays. So I was there with my rake and my son pushing garbage into the compactors. I think I sent you an email about that, but I don't know what happened with it. I don't know if anybody was, was there I heard a lot of malarkey. Isn't that Scottish? Malarkey? Anyways, yeah. So that's my report. I didn't have much of a Christmas holiday, I can tell you that.
Councillor
Somebody has
Finson.
to do it.
Councillor Finson.
December 5th, I helped set up for the turkey dinner. And December 6th, I worked the turkey dinner. It was fabulous once again. Everything went, as Terry said, as good as it could have. On December the 12th, I went to the airport lunch. It was lovely as usual. December 16th, we did the lunch and learn. It was fantastic. We had a full house of 60 people. It was fantastic. And Sean Cotton is amazing. He did a great job, and the seniors love him. On December the 11th, we had a DSAB meeting. December the 16th, that was the lunch and learn. December the 18th, I did the piano tuning, had the piano tuner to do the hall piano, and everything went well. And actually, it went better than, believe it or not, the Heinzman piano was way worse shape than the one in the hall. So it was good to hear, bad to hear. And also another DSAB meeting on January the 9th. And in that meeting, they had exciting news that their Meadowvale place in Powassan is full. So they're at full capacity. So they're finally full. We're really happy about that. And also that Esprit, their fundraising, they tripled the amount of people that donated this year, tripled. So they were very excited about that. They have lots of things on the go with housing, so it's some exciting news coming. I can say that. It's okay. We didn't say, we're allowed to say that, Ted. I checked. Anyway, so they're thinking about housing and when. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It seems like a long time ago when I looked at what I've done since the last council meeting. On December 2nd, I attended the health unit focus group with a group of mayors. And it's interesting, for the first time since I've been mayor, the health unit is reaching out to the municipalities saying, how can we do more for you? So it was an interesting focus group. Then on the 3rd, I attended a smart community meeting, which some of you may not remember what the smart community was, but they feel that they've done what they were asked to do. We've got internet coming. So they are looking to officially disband, and Craig has told them what they need to do to kind of fold up their letters of incorporation. But I think their vocal push did help us a little bit back in the day. This December 4th, we had a business committee. Then the 6th, the turkey dinner. On the 9th and on the 17th, the mayors met with Minister Calandra, the Minister of Education, who was addressing the issues with the high school. He recognized that communication had broken down totally in our community. And so he is meeting with the mayors every 10 days to update us. And you may have noticed in the paper, there is a new director of education from outside of the community. He promised that none of the hiring would be repetitive of people who've been involved. So I hope it's coming. The 11th was the staff Christmas lunch. Then the 12th, the airport commission. The 13th, the Saturday the 13th, is breakfast with Santa at Foley, and it's one of my favorite events. I get to serve pancakes and sausages, and it's always well attended. The 14th was the Santa skate, which again, our Santa is a pretty good skater. He really is. It's Brian, and the kids love him. The lunch and learn in Rosso that Gail referred to was amazing. You should have seen all the seniors singing with Cotton. It was really something. And somebody did an awful lot of work on the little gift bags that were handed out. Yeah, the angels, holy smokes. So just a couple reminders. We'll see all of you on Wednesday at the log cabin, 5 o'clock. There's not really an agenda. It's just to get to know and build a rapport. I've met with Shane, the new chief, a couple of times. So it's a get to know you and how can we move forward together and kind of re-energize the memorandum of understanding. Then the next morning, we'll see you here at 9 o'clock to talk about the waste management. Our goal will be to reach a decision and give staff direction on where to go with the waste management. We need to make a decision, or we'll be looking at very significant tax increases next year. One thing that Preston asked me to point out in the agenda package for Thursday morning, there is version 5 of the waste management report. Some of the numbers have changed minimally on a couple of the charts, but the relationship between all of the things have not changed. But if you're looking for the exact numbers, refer to the version 5 that got distributed today. In your agenda, there's an agenda package that probably came out when you were en route to here. Yeah, so that's my report and reminders for Wednesday night and Thursday morning. Yes. Okay.
I apologize for forgetting this, but I wanted to update you as to the current position of Park to Park. So a decision was made since we had the ruling from the MNRF that the Park to Park board of directors would be personally liable for anything that happened on the Seguin Trail. We had a mass exodus of board members, even though we had no intention of signing the LUP. It's with sadness I mentioned the passing of Peter Scully, who was a longtime board member. He passed away very suddenly last week, and Peter was always an interesting addition to the meetings, and I'll miss him. We decided the people that are left, there's 4 of us, representative from the town, myself, representative from McMurch, and industry representative. We decided for the time being to idle the operation. We're going to, we're just in the process of filing the last financials for 2024. There's money in the till that's available to spend on a worthwhile project somewhere. In the meantime, the township staff, we have an accountant, but the township clerk's department will look after the books for us. It shouldn't be too much to look after. Maybe Valerie will look after the website, and Dominique and Matt and Ken will look after all the materials in storage. We have a storage container. So I just wanted to, for the time being, it's not doing anything. I don't know what the future of it holds. It'll all depend on, what the future of keeping the Seguin Trail intact as a recreational trail from Highway 11 to Highway 400. That's a work in progress. We've got our ideas. We'll see what happens, and I'll update you as things. But I wanted you guys to know where we're at with it. Thank you.
And I guess the one other thing I should add is that the co-chair of the fundraising committee for the pool passed away on 29th of December. He had not been well for the last 2 years and was declining rapidly. So he will be missed. And I do attribute the 6 versus 4 lanes to his letter writing campaign that drove Jason and many of the admin people crazy until people got to the 6-lane vote. But Richard will be missed. Over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Of course, the community enjoyed several township events over the holiday season, including the Recreation and Culture Committee's Kids Christmas Party and the always popular Santa Skate. I just want to take a moment on behalf of the organization to thank the organizers and the volunteers for their ongoing support to make these events happen. Stay tuned for opportunities to get involved in 2026. As already noted, there is a special meeting in council that'll be held this Thursday to discuss the township's waste management strategy. For those that are interested, this meeting, like all council meetings, will be streamed on Seguin's YouTube channel. The 41st annual Seguin Sled Dog Mail Run will be held Saturday, February 21st. This family-friendly event welcomes thousands of locals and visitors alike, and it's only made possible with the support of local businesses. Sponsorship details are available at seguin.ca. As I look out the window, the winter weather is ideal for snowshoeing, cross-country skiing. Just a reminder that the Humphrey Nature Trails are available for both activities free of charge if conditions allow, and based on what I'm seeing right now, conditions look ideal. Also, just a reminder that on Wednesday, January 21st, from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m., there is the official plan review open house being held here at the township offices in council chambers. And the township reminds residents that there's no parking on Seguin Township roads during the winter at any time, and that every household should have an emergency kit on hand with essentials. Enough essentials and supplies to last at least 72 hours without services and power. And big shout out and thanks to all the staff who continue to fight Mother Nature's winter fury this year, sacrificing Christmas Eve with family or wherever they may have been to take care of the roads for our residents. That's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you. We move on. A motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the board and committee minutes and agendas and the correspondence as presented on the agenda and addendum for the January 12th, 2026 meeting of council. A motion. Gail? Ken? All in favor? I don't know how many of you read the correspondence, but I found one thing very interesting that the City of Toronto has endorsed Minister Calandra's move to insist that all children in the Ontario Board program will take Swim to Survive courses as mandatory. That's good news for our rec center because that means the Near North School Board has to rent space from us. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby proceed to a closed meeting at 4:20 p.m. in order to address matters pertaining to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. A mover, Greg and Gail. Okay, all in favor? And I'll give Craig a sec. Okay?
Yes.
I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby rise from the closed session and declare the regular meeting reconvened at 4:52 p.m. Mover, please. Greg, Ken, all in favor? And I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-006, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement of purchase and sale between Timothy Elliott Dick in Trust and the Corporation of the Township of Seguin for PIN 52180-0804, being part of Lot 114, Concession B, more particularly described as Part 1, Plan 42R-22830, former Township of Foley, now Township of Seguin, District of Perry Sound, 18 K Road, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I need a mover, Gail and Ken, all in favor? That's carried. Do you want to be listed? You don't need to, whether he wanted to be listed as opposed.
It needs to be recorded if you're.
No, it's not a recorded vote and the majority wins. I have a motion that bylaw number 2026-004 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of meetings of council, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Gail. Greg, I'm putting you down as a seconder. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the council of the corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this meeting of council at 4:54 p.m. to meet again on Thursday, January 15th, 2026 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the mayor. That's moved by Ken. Yeah. I don't have a seconder. Oh, okay. All in favor? Thank you. Drive safely tonight, everybody.